Hello, Pastor Barry McLaughlin here, and welcome to another episode of 7 Minutes of Scripture. And today we're going to be doing part 2 of looking at day 4 in the Genesis series. If you're enjoying this channel, we are going to hope to organize the videos a little bit better coming up, where you can actually find playlists for James and Genesis. After we finish the Genesis series, you can expect to have playlists and stuff. We're going to be just kind of getting this channel launched. One other big announcement with this channel is we started with a lot of days per week, and then we went down to 4 days per week. And this will be really, I anticipate, our final change going into next week, because again, I like to make sure everybody who wants to follow along with the videos is able to catch up. And I know it's only 7 minutes, but a lot of us get busy, and you have your own Bible study and plus this. So we are going to be next week filming Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Get some encouragement for your weekday. And occasionally, I would definitely look out for Saturdays, because occasionally I'm going to post a longer video on Saturdays. That's not going to be a usual thing, but it could be some kind of message or sermon or something like that on a Saturday. And so, but for now, it's going to be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday moving forward. This will be our last short Saturday video. So I hope you enjoy it. But we're going to be looking at part 2 of Genesis 1, 14, and 15. We talked about the stars yesterday. In fact, you'll notice I have 2 Bibles here, because I have to correct something that I said in yesterday's video that didn't sound right, didn't feel right saying it, and then I fact checked it, and so we're going to get into that in a second. But Genesis 1:14 says, "Then God said, 'Let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night.'" So we talked about yesterday what that means, dividing the day from the night, that being the first purpose of the stars. "And let them be for signs and seasons and for days and years." And so we talked about years, what makes a day, where a month comes from, and we talked about the seasons. When I had left off, and I feel like I kind of rushed through this part a little bit quickly, because we ended up being about 9 minutes yesterday, which we do go to 9 minutes sometimes. We did talk about, this is just one example of the seasons. Now, we know that in the sky, as the earth moves around, obviously the sun, and as different galaxies and stuff rotate, all the stuff that happens in distant space. You think of spiral galaxies, how stars move around, different things going on. There will appear to be, if you look at the night sky, it's not always the same every single night. You may have noticed that. My wife and I got a gift for our wedding where it says the night sky, and it was the night we got married, because the stars on that night are different. In some cases, some constellations will not appear again for another 500 years, the way if they align with certain other stars. But there are certain constants that tell us about the seasons, and one of those is the Big Dipper that rotates counterclockwise around Polaris, which is the North Star. And yesterday I gave an example of how you can use that to actually figure out what season it is, or you could just use common sense and look outside. Now, I'm being a little facetious. If somebody's watching this who's in Florida, well, it's not going to be quite as distinct as where I'm from, which is from the northern United States. And so we can pretty much tell what season it is without the use of the Big Dipper. But it also has other purposes as well. And so God put these things in place for a reason. And I said here the word signs. And I'm going to read something out of Henry Morris's commentary, because that's the only one of the purposes that we have not talked about, is the signs, what that means. I said it's not talking about astrological signs, which that part was correct. That's 100% correct. Astrological signs are evil. Anything that tries to determine your future by the stars, any worship of the stars, any kind of special juju that you're getting rained on by the stars and all this stuff, that's all evil. So astrology, I know there's a lot of people that participate in that. There's also a lot of people that participate in a lot of other things that are immoral, but you got to call it like it is. You have to call it like it is. It's like the idea of witchcraft. You see this infused in books and all kinds of other stuff. That doesn't make it good. And just because there's someone who's good in a book that practices witchcraft doesn't mean it's okay. And that's the same with astrology. So that is not what this is talking about. And I did say the idea of Taurus and Virgo, all that stuff is evil. All of it. That, figuring all that stuff out. Now, I gave the example whenever I was talking about the Big Dipper and said Arctis. It was part of Arctis. And I said that part was evil. That I was mistaken on. So there are some constellation names that are not derived from like evil or pagan things. And so that would be an example of it's sometimes referred to as the Great Bear. And so I misspoke on that, trying to mix that up with some other things in astrology. And so I didn't mean to go there. And this is part of the reason when it says signs and seasons. Henry Morris is a professor, was a professor, and who created the Institute for Creation Research. He taught creation geology and stuff. He has a really interesting commentary. I rarely read out of commentaries in these videos because I don't do that in my classroom as a public school teacher. I just read out of the book. But I do want to read this for you because he explains this so articulately and well, what it means by signs, because that's the one that we have not talked about yet. He says here, the Hebrew word for signs is the same word, oath, or O-T-H, in the English spelling, not the Hebrew spelling, obviously, as used for Cain's mark, which is Genesis 4:15, and for Noah's token, meaning the rainbow, in Genesis 9:12. Evidently, the stars were arranged by God to signify something to those who are on earth, not just scattered evenly or randomly around in space. And so, according to Henry Morris, I think that there could be a number of things. I mentioned this yesterday. I did say when it says signs, could be talking about prophetically, okay? When I'm talking about not reading the future and astrology, anything like that, but I'm talking about like the moon turning red, stars falling from the sky, that kind of stuff, the heavens being wrapped up like a scroll, like all those types of things are a part of God's plan in prophecy. And so to some degree, it could be talking about that. It also could be talking about marking out certain periods of time during the year. I could be talking about like, it could be related to the seasons where it's like, it's a sign that we need to start planting crops because the season is changing, those types of things. But also he's saying, more specifically that it's also saying that God didn't just randomly put the stars in space. He put them there for a purpose so that we can use them to benefit our life. They're not to be worshipped, as all the ancient cultures did worship the stars. They even offered human sacrifice to the stars. The Aztecs, are said to have offered thousands and thousands of people per year to the sun god. In fact, they actually believed that if they did not offer human blood to the sun, that the sun wouldn't rise the next day. So it was never intended for any of those purposes. God even named the stars. Now catch this. I'm going to read some verses to you. This is your homework to check this out. And their constellations. So naming the stars and the constellations is not a bad thing. And when I said about the Big Dipper, we don't want to lump all that into astrology because some of these names are actually biblical and given by God. And here's the verses. Job 38:31 through 33, Isaiah 40:26, and also it says this, for their possible significance, see notes on, or read these verses, Amos 5:8, Job 9:9, Job 26:13, and Job 38:32. And so in Job, you'll read about Orion's belt and all those different names and things like that. And it's interesting to see how God named these things and also the purpose for which he put them forward. So I'd encourage you, because this is too long of a study for us to take these little rabbit trails, but I encourage you to pause it, rewind it, get those verses, look them up on your own time, and hopefully you have time to do that by Monday for our next study. So guys, if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, we'd love to have you subscribe. Turn the post notifications on so you won't miss another video from us. Also, I have to give a shout out to my church, OBC, Orangeville Baptist. Definitely check out their Facebook if you're interested in more Bible studies, more encouragement from the Word. Our pastor, Harley Williams, brings it. Tomorrow he's going to be preaching, so check out his message on Facebook, and it'll be loaded to their YouTube channel as well. So God bless you guys, your families, and we'll see you in Monday night's video.